Welcome back everybody. Welcome to another tutorial on MySewNet Platinum level. Today what we're going to go over is a few uh, custom letters. If you could ever come across a situation where you're digitizing something that you do not have the exact font that you want in your software, then this video is going to help you look into that, and also a few other things uh, in regards to this really small lettering and also this custom design. Okay. Alrighty, here we go. So if you don't know how to add a background to your digitizing hoop here, you can look at my very first video. That video will kind of go through that real quickly, how to do that. It's not complicated at all. Once you do it once, you probably never forget. Okay. So like I said, these letters I couldn't find a font for. It seems to be very, I guess, custom letters that maybe were just designed for this specific design alone. So all I knew is that I didn't want to do any sort of pattern fills. I wanted it to be, sorry, satin, just like any other text that you typically find out there for embroidering. So we'll just go ahead and start. Very simply, what I like to do is quick stitch satin. It's a very basic tool, very easy, and all you have to do is just click. And if you don't know what this does, I explained in my first video, and this just helps you define the borders of the color that you've selected. So right there is fine. And since we're doing just a basic square, low number of points would be good. There's no reason to add a lot of extra points to push and pull around here. So we'll click OK. There we go. So that's pretty easy. No big deal. And then we'll go ahead and right click on this satin stitch here, and it'll bring up the borders. And the cool thing is it already did pretty much 90% of the job. It already did all the stitches horizontally, and there's only 4 points, nice and square. What I'm going to go ahead and do, this is something I'm still learning as I go, is while I start designing, I want to go ahead and start my end and start points, or starts and end points. I want to start assigning them right away. So let's go ahead and start here on the top left, and we'll end on the top right, so we're close to this guy. Actually, I changed my mind. We're gonna, oh, I can't. Okay, we'll just end here. That's fine. Maybe let me try adding a point real quick. Maybe I can do that. Okay, there we go. So we'll do that. So the quick key to add an additional point is Shift Control D, and then you'll see a little plus sign next to your arrow, and all you're gonna do is click next, or left click anywhere, and it's gonna add another point. So let me back out. If you wanna back out of whatever you just did, you can click up here to this undo, or as you can see, Control Z. So I like to do Control Z. I do AutoCAD drafting all day long, so it just comes naturally to me. So we'll do a little quick point here, right there. And then what I'll do, once I'm done, I right click to get out of adding an additional point. And then when I hover over, you can see that little cross. That means you're going to be able to move this guy right here. So anywhere you want to move it, you can move it. But what I want to do is I want to keep this nice and straight. So I'm going to hold Shift and click on this dot. Now it's a square. Now that means that's going to be a straight line from here, here to here, instead of a curve. So in case I'm a little bit off, it won't make that curve, but it's going to make it just nice and straight. Perfect. There we go. And these guys are basically what the software is going to embroider the letters, what direction they're going to embroider. So you kind of want to watch out for that. Since this is a simple block, I'm going to delete 2 of these. It's unnecessary to have 3. So the quick command for that is Control D, and just click on this purple one and this one right here. And then once again, right click to get out of that. And now when I go over, I can adjust these. Perfect. So I just learned something today while making this video. Adding a point will help me assign the endpoint right there. Perfect. So let's do that again. We're going to do it for the rest of the F. Next one's going to be here. Not going to be too picky. Looks good. Right click on it, and I'm already seeing a little bit of issues, so let's zoom in. Like I said, I only want one direction for this, so I'm going to delete Control D and click on this purple one, and then right click to get out, because you don't want to click on this one or this and delete it. So right click, just make sure that your arrow has the cross right next to it, and then we'll drag this up to be nice and vertical. There we go. And since we started here, ended here, let's start here and end here. Now what we can do is we can redo that again by clicking quick stitch, or we can just copy and paste it. So quick command for copy is Control C. And I keep saying quick command because you're going to save yourself a lot of trouble instead of having, instead of going to home or edit, copy, whatever you do, it's going to save you a lot of time, and it's just going to make you more productive when you're doing digitizing. So Control C is for copy, and then Control V as in Victor is for paste. And you can't really see it, but it's copied right on top. And then we'll go down here to for our select. Click on this guy. Actually, it was already selected. Drag it up. There we go. Now, as with any F, this part right here is going to be a little bit longer, so we'll click down here to edit points, and then we'll drag this out just a little bit, and we'll hold the shift key down as we're doing this, just to keep it nice and straight. Make sure these are edges and not curves. So there we go. That's good. So start, end, start, end, start, end. So now once we're done with this F, it's going to jump to A over here. So let's go do this one. This is a little bit more complicated. I'm going to show you guys what I did. Maybe some of you guys have other methods, but I'll show you what I did. Now, we can try this one, and it does its best to give us multiple, I guess, ways of stitching it, and let's see what it did. So we just did everything horizontally, and it didn't quite catch that. Last time I did this, I was having quite a bit of trouble, so I think I'll just take what it already did and I'll just adjust it. So let's go ahead and move this nicely, to a nice area over here. We'll delete these two in the middle. Control D again. Oh, you know what? There's an extra point, and that kind of messed it up. So let's do that. Let's actually right click. There we go. That looks good right there. Now, these letters are nothing but straight lines, so I'm going to go ahead and remove any of these curved points here. So remove this guy, and this one, and this one. I want to keep it uniform, and actually what I'm going to do, and this is a tip maybe you guys can take from me, is I studied other embroidery font just to see what they were doing, and what I noticed that a lot of times in the letter A, this left leg here was nice horizontal, and the little, I don't know what you want to call this, the bridge, I guess, between the legs was done vertically in a satin stitch. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just replicate that. Delete these points here. Let me right click and move this out of the way so I don't accidentally delete it. Delete this right here. We'll keep that one. Yeah, and I right clicked again to get out. And we'll go ahead and designate our starts and ends. So we started and the last one we did, and if you ever get kind of confused, you can just look back here and see which one was the last one you did. Start end. So we'll start up here. Perfect. There's a nice end here. And what I'm going to do, since what's going to happen is if I just click on this area, it's going to redo everything. I don't want to do that. So what we'll do is we're going to use point create, and we're going to do, let's see here. What did I want? No fill. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Where was I? There we go. Sorry. Point. Yeah, I was right. Point create and set area. So we'll just do this. We'll hold shift to make a nice edge, and it's okay if you overlap. It's actually pretty good idea if you do overlap. So we're going to click here, here, and then fix this a little bit. Fix this, and that looks pretty good. And we'll right click. Boom, there we go. Now obviously we have to change the direction. If you can tell, it's going horizontally, so we'll right click again, and I'll delete one of these guys right here. I only need one because I'm only going to be running in one direction. Drag these points to try to get them as vertical as possible. There we go. Perfect. Awesome. So cool thing is right here you can also use starts and ends. So it's a quick guide, start, end, and we'll start this right there. That's fine, and we'll end it up here, and then we'll do the next part. Quick create, quick satin stitch. Click in the area. Try to get a little better. There we go. Boom. Made two ways of stitching, so I'll just delete this one, the one I don't like. Right click to get out of, oops, I did not do that. Control D, there we go. Perfect. Here we go. And we'll start from here and we'll end over here. Okay. So if you want to do the M, that'd be great. I think this one took me, let me see what it did real quick, just out of curiosity. I don't remember if I had to change it all. Yeah, that's not gonna look good. So what's gonna happen here, from what I've noticed, is you're gonna get a lot of back and forth to this same spot right here. If you can see, all these have this same point in common, so that means you're gonna get really heavy stitching right here, so we want to avoid that. So what you can do, and again I bring up the idea of studying other text, other fonts, is they have this vertical column done, and then they have this one separately going straight down or split in the middle or any other way. Actually, yeah, but doing the stitching horizontally. And then I guess you could just mirror this guy right here, this portion, and it would copy onto here. And if you wanted to, you have this guy right here, copy, paste, and that's actually a good point right here. And we'll select this and drag it over. If you're gonna make your lettering, you want to be consistent. You don't want an F that has maybe this top portion different. See how there's two Fs? We want to make sure we copy it, and what we can do just to make it easy on us, see, I'm getting mixed up already. Here we go. Okay, so we'll go ahead and highlight all of these by clicking and then holding shift, and I know these are the three for the F, and then we'll right click and then we'll group them together. Now you'll see that it grouped it all in once, and I can drag all these together and they will always stay together. If I wanted to take a look at more in depth and detail what this group was made of, I could click on this one that says display group contents, and it shows me every single one. Those are the components, and it still shows me the starts and ends. So say you have another F, which we do right here. You can just click on this, Control C, and here's your clipboard down here. It's going to show you what you have in your clipboard, just like in Microsoft Word or any other software, I guess. And we'll click Control V, and then you can see it made a different group already. So let's pretend we already did the rest of family, and we're going to do F. Let's drag this down just to keep things in the correct order, and then we will bring this down right here. There you go. Completely avoided you having to redo an F. And you have your I. R was a little bit tricky, but actually it was really simple. The software did a really good job of doing that for me. Yeah, I think I didn't really touch this much. I maybe adjusted a few things just to keep it nice and uniform. S, pretty simple. Yeah. Now let's talk a little bit about density for this stitching. When I first started doing a lot of my own digitizing, I was having a little bit of issue of getting complete coverage along the edges. And what my issue was stabilizers mainly. And if you've been on any Facebook forums, you'll realize that people are always saying that stabilizers are the secret key to good embroidery and knowing which kind of stabilizers. What I've been doing, since I've been doing a lot of t-shirts and some polyester, I've been using Cutaway Stabilizer, and that's helped me a lot. At first I was only using tearaway because it was the first stuff I bought and that's all I had. But if you really want to try to improve the edges on your embroidery, I would definitely recommend looking into some additional sort of stabilizers for your embroidery. So on that point, what I'm trying to say is that just because your edges aren't coming out good does not mean that you need to bump your density to the max. So what I was doing was I was going all the way down to the minimum or max of density that this program would allow me, and all these letters were coming out, you know, they looked really nice, but they were super, super thick. So what I found was if I just kept it, I ended up just keeping it at 4, and I just used the proper stabilizer. It looked great. There was hardly any issues with the edges, nothing really that bugged me at all. I'm way too picky about my embroidering, especially because I'm using a just like a standard consumer type of embroidery machine. It's a Topaz 40 by Husqvarna. I'm sorry if I didn't say that right. And I'm trying to get commercial results out of it. And I don't think it's very realistic, but I think if you at least set yourself some sort of standard and you can say you're happy with it, that's great. I showed this product to already a friend of mine who's ordering some shirts um, for their own business, and they were happy with it. They had no complaints. I was the one that was nitpicking at the design, nitpicking at little things that I didn't think were perfect. So yeah. So for this guy, these letters are a whole different story. You can do quick set and stitch, but these letters are so small, and because the background, you can tell there's a little bit of, you know, blurriness around the edges. It's not gonna get it quite right. So what I ended up doing, I ended up using a font already in a different part of this program, and I just brought it over here, and we can go over that another time. But one thing that I do want to warn you about, you don't want to make these too thin, because if you make it too thin and too thick, you're just gonna have a bird's nest on the back of your stabilizer. Okay. So that's the first portion. I'm not going to do every letter, that's going to take way too long, and this video is already a little bit long as it is. But what we're going to do now really quickly is go through this part right here. Again, quick create is going to be your best friend. It's my best friend right now. Maybe if you have better methods, great. But what I'm going to be doing, just to keep it simple, we're just going to do this. Quick stitch. There you go. Now, if we go to view and get length, we're going to notice that this is really, really thin. It's not even 2 millimeters. And what I realized that this was so thin that the machine was having trouble making this nice and clean. I ended up having to adjust all of these individually to make them thicker. And I cheated a little bit because there's other people, or they actually had these professionally done, and I noticed that they probably came across the same issue where it was not possible to get these to show up nicely uniform and thin. So what they ended up doing is they basically combine all of this, these two sections together, these two and these two and these two. So just one big massive, actually it wasn't massive, it was just two sand stitches right next to each other, but there was no gap. Like I said, I'm pretty darn picky with my stuff, so I spent extra time trying to get these to have the gap in the middle, and it came out pretty good. I'll try to upload a photo of it at the end of this video, so you guys can see what I ended up doing. I had the color change here and everything. This is fairly straightforward. Same with the letter M. I couldn't quite get the program to do. Now, I mean, you can't expect the program to do all the work. That'd be way too easy. But I couldn't get it to do everything as good as I wanted. See, it's a mess, especially this area. And again, I just referred to other people's stitching. So what I did was I did quick satin, that, and then I just deleted all these points, oops, all these points at the edges where I was having trouble. Got rid of that. And I'm doing this really quick just so you guys can see what I did. I'm going to get rid of these unnecessary changes in direction. I just did this. I cleaned up this corner right here. And then I went to point create, satin area. Oh, let me hold down shift. And then if you've done one and you forgot to hold down shift, it's fine. Just hold down shift and make sure you have that cross next to your arrow. And there you go. And that's all they did. And then I came here, yeah, gotta get rid of these guys. Too much information. There we go. So that's what I did for that one. And I'm gonna say this over and over. I always look at other people's stitching. I was out and about and I was seeing clothes that had stitching and I just studied it. I looked at it and I'm like, okay, what do these people do in this situation? Okay, that makes sense. So that's how you learn. You're not going to get good at this overnight. We've probably gone almost a month and I'm still finding out new things, new methods to get things to show right. So if this video helped you at all, please go ahead and just like this video or just leave a comment if there's any issues you're having that maybe I can try to help. Pretty beginner, but at least I feel, over the hurdle of the learning curve of MySewNet. I know there's a lot of other programs out there with a lot of other videos, but this was fairly new. I wanted to give it a try. I can't help but to like it because I haven't really tried anything else. But please do leave a comment if there's anything else you want to see in these programs, anything specific, and yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Okay, guys? Thank you. God bless.